Hello, I'm GUNARGIE O'Sullivan.
And I'm IMTIAZ POPAT.
And this is Access Community Television.
And on this show, GUNARGIE, I'll be talking to two different people from South Asian community about two different South Asian festivals. And Sherry Dougal's back with her health segment with Bonnie NISH on expressive art.
Oh, I can't wait to see what she brings to the table. You know, what is interesting is that we have Sid Tan in the house, as usual. He's speaking with a fellow by the name of Paul R. Taylor. And if you haven't heard of him, IMTIAZ, I'm sure others have. He has been working as the publishing editor of Carnegie News for over 30 years. 30 years, and he's here with us today to share some of the views of events that have happened over the years with you, the audience members of Access Television. But before that, we would like to talk with the three Corys, Corey Morales, Corey Douglas, and Corey Bulpett. Now, these three are left with the task to carry on art forms and traditions from the past and carry it forward. And they are left to fill the shoes or the moccasins of Norman Tate, Phil Jans, and George David, as well as Art Thompson. How do they differ? And what are their art forms? These are the questions posed by Gary Oliver to the three Corys. Check it out.
This is Access Television, and I'm Gary Oliver, your host today. And I'm sitting today with Corey Douglas, Corey Morans, and Corey Bulpett is on the phone. These three men today are prolific artists in their own right, in their own form. So we're going to talk a little bit about their art form and some of their upcoming exhibits. Corey, Corey Douglas, where are you from?
Born here in Vancouver, raised in Squamish. Yeah, that's kind of where I've been spending most of my time. I currently live downtown Vancouver.
Oh, do you? And what kind of form line do you work in?
I first started studying my Haida ancestry. As of late, just in the last year now, I've been exploring my Coast Salish roots and playing with the forms themselves.
And Corey?
I was born in Seattle and grew up here in Vancouver. Moved back down to Seattle to enter an apprenticeship with David Boxley, and that's where I met my wife, and we moved back here in 2006.
And what form line do you work in?
I work primarily in wood and precious metals. I also do a lot of airbrushing and pinstripe work, custom culture, tattoo flash. But my main interest is sculptural work.
Oh, cool. And Corey Bulpett, what kind of work do you do?
Yeah, I do a lot of wood carving. It's a primary medium. I do glass pieces, painting, a little bit of small bit of jewelry, but I don't touch it too often. A lot of like larger totem poles and things like that. And I've been doing Haida traditional style tattooing.
So is that where you're from? Are you from Haida Gwaii?
Yeah, I'm from Haida Gwaii, yeah. So
how long have you been down in Vancouver?
I basically grew up down in the Lower Mainland and lived in Haida Gwaii for a few years, and then I've kind of been in Vancouver pretty much since around 2002 for the most part.
And what are you working on today?
Actually, I got a 9-foot totem pole that I'm working on in my yard here in East Vancouver. Yeah, it's a Bear Mother story, one of the Haida myths. So it's kind of a traditional style pole with pretty traditional motifs.
And what's that made of?
It's red cedar, western red cedar.
So are you getting ready for any exhibits or?
Yeah, let me think. I've got one currently in at the Langley Centennial Museum, or the British Columbia Centennial Museum in Fort Langley. I believe there's a show in Montreal happening right now with my work, and got quite a few murals to do. One for the Vancouver Mural Festival. Some other things for the Under Pressure magazine in Montreal. They've got a big graffiti festival every year, so I've been doing the kind of the designs of the logos and things for this year. And currently there's a piece by interactive graffiti piece by me and Rob Geary at Christchurch on Burrard in Georgia. Where there's a big wall where people can write about what reconciliation means to them.
Oh, cool. And that's something anybody can just write on that, correct?
Yeah, it's got 4 big ovoid.
Is that on the corner of Burrard in Georgia?
Yeah, Burrard in Georgia on the Christchurch.
Oh, nice.
The project's kind of in lieu with the Bill Reid Gallery and the church. Yeah, there's big ovoid chalkboards that anyone could come up and write on and kind of put their thoughts about reconciliation on the board. And it's taken down weekly and documented. And then also there's youth groups that come in every week and they're kind of part of the process also.
Well, thank you, Corey, for explaining what kind of form line and the things that you're involved with.
Yeah, no worries.
So what form line are you working on?
I'm focusing my attentions as of late on like tattoo flash, incorporating Northwest Coast sensibilities with old school tattoo style, as well as Japanese mural type work as well.
So the old form of tattoo, how was that done?
The old style,
Yeah.
you know, old school tattooing, you know, like Sailor Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of very minimalist in their colors and simplified forms.
And that would be done what traditionally? How would have that been done?
They did those traditionally with a tattoo gun.
With where they use a little stick? And
No, that's hand poke
Oh, it's a hand
tattoo.
poke?
Yeah. So my idea is that had our ancestors been involved with popular culture as it grew, they would have adopted these new tools like they did with anything else. You know, they moved from bone knife blades to metal as soon as they found it.
Yeah.
So I think that natural progression would have been to adopt the tattoo guns and explore the possibilities with shading and the rest of it.
Yeah. So I saw that you brought some 3 pieces of your working.
Yes.
So would you like to explain the first one there?
This one's just it's a frontal frog in sterling silver, 1 inch wide.
Yeah. So how do you get the black on there?
That's an oxidizing process. I have a blackening solution, which is basically liver of sulfur, and I purify the surface of the metal, and then I hand apply it with a paintbrush and use silicone burrs to remove the excess.
Oh, nice. And then the one in the center?
The one in the center here is a skull.
So it represents man?
It represents mortality, right?
Okay, mortality?
Yeah, and it's something that I created. The design itself, I think I created about five or so years ago, and it hadn't really gone beyond the medium of graphics, and I wanted to try it out on sterling silver, and it seems to be quite successful.
And then your last piece there that you have?
This is in progress. This is a form line detail. I got this idea years ago from looking at the old house front planks.
Okay.
And seeing the beauty in the total design being segmented off. It still has a sense of power there. It's a very bold look, and you know, once I was done with the first piece, it seemed to be quite pleasing to the eye, and it's something that, you know.
Yeah, it's a beautiful form how you have the lines almost like go right through the piece.
Yeah,
as you cover the actual whole space.
Yeah,
you cover the whole space with the.
Yeah, it doesn't take into
borders. So.
Yeah, it doesn't take into consideration. It's not restricted by the edges of the bracelet itself. it becomes its own canvas.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful design.
Well, thank you.
And Corey Douglas, I saw that you've brought some jewelry pieces in today. What are they?
So this one here is based off an old Haida legend, a sea lion hunter. So you'll see the sea lion in form line design in profile, his tail on one end, and the human hand on the other. The shape was actually quite fun to do. This is an anti-clastic shape bracelet, 2 inches wide. The process was really time-consuming. It becomes very work-hardened every time you hammer it over a tea stake. So I have to heat treat it, and then pickle it, and then remove any excess. But that entire process I had to do 5 separate times, and probably a good hour or so.
So is that concave design, is that traditional?
No, I don't think so. The jewelry itself was something that was adopted within our communities. We traditionally wore tattoos, and it was something that was banned in our culture. But as far as the jewelry itself, it's an adopted adornment. But as far as the shape, it's not something that I've seen a whole lot out there right now, so I thought it would be something very fun to play with.
And then your last bracelet there is what design?
In the last year, I've been exploring my Coast Salish roots, and a mentor and relative of mine, Aaron Nelson Moody, who you might know as Splash, is someone that I've leaned on quite heavily to kind of help me understand the different elements that define Coast Salish from our traditional Haida form line. So he's introduced me to the basic shapes, and this is an owl design that I had completed. So it's owl's front face, wing draping up one side and draping up or down the other.
And the material is?
Copper.
And that was highly revered by the Haida people, correct?
In, I believe, any of the nations up and down the coast.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
And so, do you have any upcoming expositions coming up?
I just finished doing a civic art installation for the city of Coquitlam. Unfortunately, I can't share any details right now, as the city will be providing that, making a formal public notice, and I'll be sure to keep you up to date.
Okay, cool. And do you have any?
September, October, I've got a group show in Newton.
In Newton?
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing all of these shows coming up from all of you great artists. And this has been Access Television, and I've been sitting with the 3 Corys.
Sherry Dougal's back.
Yes, she's back with her health segment with Bonnie NISH. She's an expressive art therapist, also an author, and one of the founders of the Pandora's Collective.
Hello everyone, welcome to my health segment on Access Television. Today I'm very excited to have Bonnie NISH at the studios. She's an expressive arts therapist, a published author, a workshop facilitator. Welcome.
Thank you, Sherry, for having me.
I wanted to start by asking you, how does the written form of expression play a role in the healing process?
First of all, it's absolutely huge, and it comes into everything that I do. I run an organization called Pandora's Collective in the literary arts, as a charitable organization, and we go into drug rehab centers and the eating disorder clinic, and we do writing workshops in those facilities, and the things that come out of there are just amazing. It's a tool that we give people to use to help heal. It's just something else to have in their toolbox. And it gives people a way of expressing things. We always say, don't worry about editing, you can do that later. It's just a matter of getting it out, and it's another way to get it out. And it putting it on paper and seeing it really makes a shift. And that's what expressive arts is about, is making that shift, whether you're doing it through writing or one of the other modes of art.
Beautifully said. So if someone was interested in incorporating writing into their lifestyle, how can they start? Because I know there's a lot of fear involved with the blank page and starting that way. So what tips do you have to offer to the audience?
There are a few things that I would say. The first is, I always tell people you can write about absolutely anything. And if you get stuck, put a spoon on the table and just start writing about the spoon, and you'll be surprised what comes out. And don't worry about what it is that's coming out, because that's not the idea. The idea is just to generate. And you might come out with one line that you want to use later, or you might come out with an epiphany of something that was bothering you that you never thought of. And the other thing is to do what someone named Natalie Goldberg calls, it's a timed exercise where you just don't take your pen off the page for 10 minutes or 5 minutes and just keep writing. And if you do that on a daily basis, get up every morning or create a space in your day to do that, I think you'll notice a difference.
And how long have you been writing for?
I've been writing since I was 13.
That's amazing. And we have a workshop coming up that you're facilitating.
It's a expressive arts workshop called A Walk Through Grief. And grief can be anything from losing a job to losing your identity through illness to losing a partner. It has many forms, and we all, unfortunately, have to go through it at some point or other. So I'm going to be doing it on Sunday, August the 7th with Ruby Cohn, who's another expressive arts therapist, at the Roundhouse, and you can contact us if you're interested. It will be a very enlightening workshop. We will also do a follow-up the week following, just to touch base with people to see if things have come up during the week that they need to discuss.
That's amazing. And how long have you been facilitating these type of workshops for?
Well, I've been going into drug rehab centers since, I think, for at least 10 years. So I've been doing workshops along these lines for many, many years. I started my PhD in expressive arts therapy, arts education and conflict resolution. So, so I've been interested in this kind of work for a long time.
And if anyone's interested in the workshop, please get hold of Bonnie Nish. You can check out her website and also get details that way. And writing doesn't need to be negative or sad or scary. It can be a joyful process.
Absolutely. And often when you're writing, it's both. It's not just negative. And it doesn't have to be about something negative in your life. If you do it on a daily basis, there are positive things that are going to come out too. So life is just like that. It's positive and negative. And in writing, it all comes out. So
I think everyone can take the risk, get out that journal, and make it your own.
And the grief workshop, you don't have to have any artistic background or writing background. Our workshops are always for people who want to look at different questions about their life.
That's amazing. It's all about self-awareness and self-development.
Yes.
And it's great to have you at the studios. For more details, get hold of Bonnie Nish. Absolute pleasure to have you at the studios.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Let's illustrate a lot of the important themes around what it takes to create affordable housing and the supports for people who are low income and marginalized and let's have a walk around this example of Vancouver's evolution and Vancouver's neighborhoods where things connect and where there's frictions and often real struggles to create the housing and other social infrastructure that we really need. One is built under BC Housing or BC Homes social housing program about 1997-98. And next to it is also Vancouver Native Housing, and I think that's about 3 or 4 years old, done with BC Housing and federal government monies. And this is an example where there was support from sort of unexpected areas and challenges from unexpected areas. And My tone of voice may vary as I describe these, but I don't want you to conclude who's a villain and who's a good guy. You know, the market guys said, we welcome the non-market First Nations guys. We think it's a great idea. How can we help? Good. And, but there was a little bit of controversy. And this I didn't make this story up. You see that nice heritage facade when the heritage planners, man, were they keen on preserving that. But they had an important requirement, and they really dug their heels in, which was the totem pole should not be visible from the street because it detracts from the heritage facade. Any guess where this is going? Yeah. Now, if you move the totem pole back, you lose the units, which diminishes the social value. Oh, but you're talking to the heritage guys. They don't do social. They do heritage. So this was kind of resolved when some of the elders in the community came forward and said, well, we understand your settler heritage and that you're very fond, if not romanticizing it, but we kind of like our artistic heritage too. So why don't we put the totem pole on the bottom, and you can put your heritage thing up in the air and it can sit on top of our stuff, dominant and dismissive the way we're used to being treated. Or maybe we could invert it and y'all can compromise. And so that's it. So again, nothing that 3 months and $50,000 of consulting time and whatever grief and heartache it would take to come to, well, I think most of you would think is a lovely conclusion. It looks great.
Hi, this is IMTIAZ Pop with Hot Topics, and today I have immigration lawyer ZOOL SOLEMN, regular contributor Kelly REBURN, and Eugene CRAIN, our First Nations entertainment expert. First of all, ZOOL, we did this interview 3 years ago about border security, the TV show, and 3 years later it's now been canceled. Tell us what happened there.
A complaint was filed with the Federal Privacy Commissioner by the BC Civil Liberties Association on behalf of my client, and the Privacy Commissioner found that the Canada Border Services Agency had breached the Privacy Act. They had not gotten proper consents, and this was a big problem.
Right, and this is exactly what you said 3 years ago in the interview, and 3 years later, it's finally canceled. Exactly. I mean, we were quite sure that the consents were received under duress. People were not properly informed, and so we're very happy with the solution, and now we're hoping that the private television show will also apologize for their conduct. Great. Kelly, we were talking about the accessibility bus passes last time we talked to you. Now, there have been more rallies, and now Christy Clark has said that she's going to cancel the $45 application fee, but the $52 a month is still going to be there.
Well, that's right, MTS. The issue on the bus pass program, we only had one rally in Parksville directly to the Minister of Income Assistance, demanding that they shouldn't be eliminating the $45 bus pass per year, and just having that $45 would save a lot than not having the $52 per month. It's a big difference between $45 a year and $52 every month. It is. It's going to be a big burden. So as this continuous story, it's probably going to be an issue during the coming month. Yeah, and you have to make a choice, and you have to go to the ministry either if you want to get a bus pass or want to become one of the assistant transportation assistants by the end of August. Great. We'll follow that up. Eugene, tell us what's new with the First Nations Entertainment.
There's lots happening in Vancouver, and I can't wait to tell you it all. First off, I want to talk about actor Dwayne Howard, a First Nations born in the new Nilf, which means along the mountains and the sea, played Elk Dog, the lead native warrior in the 20th Century Fox film, The Reverend. Can you tell I'm excited? Dwayne's new project is the Klondike's TV miniseries. It's an Irish Western. Look for it on Facebook, called Anne Klondike, which means in Irish, the Klondike. Thanks, Dwayne, for chatting with me on Facebook Messenger. Ray Thunderchild, the First Nations Cree actor from APTN's Blackstone, is starring a new UK film called Tin Star. Ray said there are a lot of Canadians and UK actors in the film. Again, thank you, Ray, for chatting with me on Facebook Messenger. We have something new, and first, season 4 of The Amazing Race Canada has its first First Nations team. Ashley Collingbull and Joel Ground are both of the Cree Nation, are a stepfather and daughter team. Ashley, a Mrs. Universe, actor on APTN's Blackstone, and speaker, and is a speaker on Aboriginal and social issues. Now I want to talk about the Queer Film Festival. Is putting out a two-spirit realness. There's 3 films that you should look out for: North Mountain, Fire Song, Two Soft Things, Two Hard Things. Please look for those at the Queer Film Festival. They're all about two-spirited. Mel Kirkland, a First Nations promoter on Van Blues Around Town. Tweet at Van Blues at. Look for her on Twitter and Facebook. She knows what's happening in Vancouver blues music. I'd like to give out a shout out to Suzette Amaya, who's also been a contestant on Big Brother. She also is a manager. Big shout out to Suzette Amaya. Shout out to Maurice Nahaney for the 7 Indigenous newspaper. This just in, hello independent producers. Dorian Manuel just posted on Facebook, CBC is looking for short documentary ideas. www.cbc.ca. This fall, coming at the PNE is A Tribe Called Red. I know everyone's going to be excited to come out there. So please check that out.
Yeah, we talked about that last month too. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, thank you, Eugene.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's great. And that's it for our topics for this edition. This is IMTIAZ POPAT signing off for Access Community Television.
Well, thank you, IMTIAZ, for sharing those hot topics with us. I hope that you haven't forgotten that, we still want to save Crab Park, and if you are interested, you can sign a petition. Go to leadnow.ca and save Crab Park. Sign your name on the dotted line, and we'll just go from there. Also, Sid10 is up next with Paul R. Taylor in celebration of their 30th year of the Carnegie newsletter. Here he is.
Hello and welcome to Access Community Television, shamelessly promoting our friends and community. My name is Sid Tan, and today we have with us Paul R. Taylor, one of our favorite friends from our favorite community, the downtown East Side. Welcome, Paul, and I know you're the longtime editor of the Carnegie newsletter, and I know you're here to talk about the newsletter and particularly the fundraising. Can you tell us a little about the newsletter and your fundraising efforts?
Okay, the newsletter's been going since 1986, twice a month. People that write poetry, articles on issues that face the downtown East Side, and I've been doing that as volunteers all this time. There's over 1,800 people have volunteered their talent and energy for it. The fundraising is something that's now become necessary for publication. There's no base funding. The government doesn't pay for it. The Carnegie Center doesn't pay for it. And so it's the readers and writers even who will contribute financially to keep the thing going.
So you would say if somebody wants to donate some money or wants to find out more about the Carnegie newsletter, how would they do that, Paul?
It's online. The website address is carnegienewsletter.org. It's at the Carnegie Community Center. The number is 604-665-2289. Now, there's scope for almost anything you want to write about. Most of the focus of the paper are on issues that face people who are living in really low incomes in one of the poorest areas in Canada. So anything that's considered, but if you want to write it from the perspective of people being, oppression is a bit harsh, but people who are put down or neglected or marginalized.
You've been editor for a long time, so you must have had a chance to catch what are the good things and the bad things, and what has inspired you, and you know, what has made you despair. I just wondering if we could just go through some of them. What are some of the things that you found out about your community by editing the newsletter?
Well, the writers are often people who have addiction issues, mental health issues, trying to live on the margins of society, and writing about stuff that you don't find anywhere else. What's really inspiring is when people, their work is picked up somewhere else. It inspires people in the community, but it's also people who've written for the paper have gone on to be recognized as a city poet. Nationally, their books are picked up by national organizations. People have gone on to read or to write their own books. And that, they always say, well, I had my beginning with the Carnegie newsletter. And that's really nice.
Thank you, Paul. Do some name dropping. Tell us, who are some of these people? Because I happen to know some of them have turned out to be really quite successful poets and writers.
All right, well, Bud Osborne is my favorite poet. He's got 5 or 6 books of poetry out. Sandy Cameron was an author and the historian of the downtown east side. His work's been picked up nationally and internationally. Sheila Waxter went on to write 5 books. There have been plays written by Bob Stardy, by Pat Flanagan. There's artwork. A guy named Jim Doerr has put out his own books called Crunch, about what actually happens to people on the downtown east side when forces that are seeking to gentrify and take over the area play up against people who are trying to survive there.
So people have been writing, they submit the writing to the Carnegie newsletter, and Carnegie newsletter is often their first and perhaps only attempt to be able to get their voices heard.
Yeah. That one thing that was really incredible is a man who learned how to read when he was about 45, and he couldn't spell, so he would make out a phonetic spelling of his words. And so I took it and printed it letter for letter, just how he written it. And he was just dumbfounded that somebody actually could read and understand what he'd written. He'd never been able to get past kind of feeling ashamed of being illiterate for most of adult life. So that kind of thing is really special.
Yeah, and it's not only the writers, but you have artists, you have cartoonists, some of the stuff in there is incredible, and probably more incredible is its commentary or opinion. They're not mainstream commentary and opinion.
No. We've often been threatened. People have tried to find out which committee or which supervisory body in governments they can go to shut us down. They don't like when people come out and say, well, you have done nothing but watch your investment earn you more money than someone living down here makes in a year. And yet you want us to leave because we're inconvenient.
I know the newsletter is very well read. I read every issue. I have for a long time. I know that there used to be a newsletter down there in the early 80s called the Carnegie Crescent, which stopped running, and then you brought this back, and you've been working at it for 30 years now. We're going to have to go pretty soon, but before we go, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, it needs to continue. That it's a kind of a voice that you don't find anywhere else. Most community centers, their newsletter can be published once a year. It will have a picture of the board of directors and laudatory statements from the mayor or a councillor, and that's it. And you can publish it once a year, and that's all you need. Well, the Carnegie paper comes out twice a month and has for almost 30 years.
Thank you for doing that, Paul. Thank you for being with us today. We have to get going. I've been here with Paul Taylor, Paul R. Taylor, 30-year editor of the Carnegie newsletter, one of the most widely read newsletters, I would say, for the community, perhaps in Canada. It's so wonderful to see people doing this work, Paul, and again, as I say, we've got to go. My name is Sid Tan, and until we meet again, straight shooting and tight edits. You're watching Access Community Television.
So yeah, thanks a lot for coming on the tour. I'm going to try and not talk as much as I would normally about this building, because this for me is a very important building. It was where I started my work in the downtown east side back in 1991. And at that time I had just finished working as a nurse in the emergency department in Vancouver General, and I had left because I was very frustrated about how many people coming into the emergency department who were mentally ill were also living on the street and just didn't really have the supports they needed in the community. And we were just shoveling them out of the emerge onto the street. So I ended up coming down here and knowing very little about the downtown east side, started effectively running this hotel. And after about 3 months of being in the building, people in the neighborhood found out, oh, there's a nurse working in this hotel. And so they just started sending all these really complex, sick, mentally ill, drug-addicted people. And I was 25 and very kind of naive and very Pollyanna, and I just said yes to everybody. And within about 3 months, out of the 70 rooms in the hotel, probably 98% of the people living in the hotel had injection drug use issues. Another 50% were diagnosed with a mental health issue, and everybody had had some sort of contact with the criminal justice system. So I now am writing a fellowship. I'm in a year of a fellowship year, and trying to distill 23 years of experience of working in this community into what I think are some principles that worked and where we made mistakes, but what is useful for the community groups to try and learn from this experience. In particular around how drug users are seen and treated in community. And what I think was very important about this building was, even before it became renovated into what it is today, it was the first sort of act of an occupation, in a way, of a physical space where people who were so off the map and not considered human, they were demonized terribly in this community, in the media, and I think generally as drug users they were called junkies and zombies, and everywhere I go in the world, whether it's Brazil or China or everywhere, there's a nickname for people who use drugs that's very dehumanizing, and it robs them of their personhood. And strangely for us, this was just a place where we learned that people who use drugs are just people with terrible stories and terrible lives and very few social supports, and many of them came to us after horrific trauma and years of the system failing them. And so really what we did was say, okay, what can we do? We can fix a space where they can live, and we're not going to kick them out and move the problem along. We're just going to stabilize them. We're just going to try and provide stability. And that was in and of itself considered a very contentious act, because it went against a lot of the dominant beliefs and values of that time, which were, if you're going to be responsible and operate a housing project, you have to make sure people don't use drugs in your housing. Or if you're going to take care of people who use drugs, you've got to make sure that you're telling them all the time that using drugs is bad and that they should quit. So all of these other sort of messages that we were up against were very hard for us to actually just say, no, we're just actually trying to make it okay for the population to be less in crisis and access some basics that they otherwise aren't getting, like food, like healthcare, like access to some dignity. So that's what we started here, and this eventually, after many years, we were able to work with the provincial government to relocate what was at that time a very crappy SRO hotel with 70 rooms, one toilet for 19 people, one domestic shower stall for 19 people, one tiny little domestic stove for like 19 people on each of the 4 floors. So it was very substandard, in my opinion, as housing. However, it was essential and it was desperately needed. But when I started working here in 1991, this was the epicenter of a very heavily sad community. It wasn't that there was no community, there were a lot of people. There was 15,000 low-income residents in this neighborhood, 6,000 roughly of whom were injection drug users. So everything that we learned about the neighborhood was from being in this hotel for that 10-year period between 91 and 2001.
Welcome back to Access TV. This is IMTIAZ POPAT, and it's summertime, and I have 2 people here to talk about 2 important South Asian summer festivals, Hassan Kazi from the Pakistan Festival and JUNITA THAKORLAL from the Gujarati Cultural Festival. So first of all, August 14th is the Pakistan Festival. which is the day that Pakistan got its independence. And for the first time, it's going to be right here at Jack Pool Plaza, right behind us.
That's correct. We're hosting it this year right in downtown Vancouver. For the first time in our history, it's going to be in Jack Pool Plaza. And that's just to allow different cultures from different backgrounds to experience the history and cultures of Pakistan.
Yeah, so you're going to have to sort of make Holland Park a little bit more concise.
That's correct.
Down here, but it's going to bring more people.
Bring more people, hopefully, and bring a diverse community to our festival this year.
Yeah, what are some of the highlights of this year's festival, Hassan?
Right, so it's going to start at noon on August 14th, and we hope to have a lot of local Pakistani talent, as well as we're bringing a very famous celebrity from Pakistan itself. Jawad Ahmed, for those who know him, he's a pop singer, and he's going to be performing. That's going to be our main highlight. In addition to that, we'll have a lot of fashion show, cultural events, a lot of local Pakistani restaurants will be on display, so there's a lot for people to come and enjoy.
Showing Pakistan's diversity.
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Great, yes. Looking really forward to that. It's really exciting. Junita,
yes.
5 days of Gujarati Culture Festival. Now, I always think that when it comes to Gujarati Festival, it's always around Diwali time, but this is in the summer. Tell us what's happening and why you're doing it in the summer.
Sure. Well, actually, we do one in Diwali as well, the
yes, of
Navratri and Diwali Festival. Yeah. We base all of our events on the lunar calendar. So that's where Diwali falls in. But specifically to the Gujarati Cultural Festival, kicks off August 30th till September 4th. And the reason why we're doing it in the summer is because this is actually the 20th festival that we've held. But it's a roving festival. It's always around different places in Western Canada. And Vancouver has played host to this particular festival, I think 3 times previously, and this is the first time we're doing it on such a big scale. It's always revolved around a dance competition. So we've kind of taken it, twisted it, and made it more inclusive, so that it's involving beyond borders of just the Gujarati Samaj here. So we're inviting pretty much all the different cities from across North America, different people, races, religions, whatever, is just to come and celebrate art and dance with us. So
it's a Western Gujarati Mela.
That's right. It's basically a big Mela held over the course of 5 days with different events.
So tell us what some of the highlights, some of the events that will be happening.
Sure.
And where they will be happening.
Absolutely. Well, on August 30th, we kick off at P&E. So we've got a partnership with P&E where they've given us a portion of their floor, and they've never done this before. They've made a whole festival park area for us, where that's where we'll be opening up. So there's similarly to what you're doing, is instead of doing the on any other culture, we're focusing specifically on Gujarat, because Gujarat seems to be hidden. The Prime Minister Modi from India, he's Gujarati. And so we've taken, now there's a little bit more publicity around, what is Gujarat? Industry is there. It's one of the fastest growing, what is the fastest growing state in all of India. And so we're able to actually use that and let people know how amazing and all the different things that Gujarat has to offer. So we're actually the jewel of Western India. That's how we're kicking off on August 30th.
And like Pakistan, Gujarat is also very diverse, right? It has different dialects and different cultural differences from the north to the south.
And so that's basically what we're trying to focus on, is let people know, to invite them in so that way they can experience as well the food, the culture, the dance, music, literature, art, Rangoli, all the different things that we do have to offer. It's not just a language or dhokla, it's so much more, right?
And what are some of the other events that are happening?
Sure, so we've got over the course of 5 days, I don't know if I'll be sending you this artwork as well, but over the course of 5 days, the next day we've got a bhajan, which is more of a religious and spiritual kind of a connection in the temple. We have the following day, we've got karaoke, so it's a different type of singing, where we're inviting different groups to come out. It's open to the public.
Gujarati ma karaoke?
Probably Hindi. We'll be playing Name That Tune and Antakshari and all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
We've also got a Bollywood concert with playback singer Sumit Tappu. So he came here, we called him a couple of years ago, and it was a sold out show. So this year we've gone to a bigger theater that's out in North Vancouver at Centennial Theater on the Friday, September the 2nd. And on the 3rd, that's our big dance Ras Garba showcase. So Ras and Garba is the art form, the dance form of Gujarat. And so we really want to come out and showcase our award-winning teams from all over. So we've got teams coming from Edmonton, LA, Calgary, and of course Vancouver, different categories. So we've got youth, we've got all the way up to youth, we've got adult, we have seniors, we've got 35 plus, so the middle-aged kind of group, the moms all wanted to get together and do something, and so we're really involving all aspects of the community.
And Hassan, as Bhangra is popular in Punjab, Garba and Ras Garba is popular in Gujarat. That's the thing, that's the colorful culture of Gujarat and so on. So it's really exciting. And it's great that both the festivals are happening this summer close together. They actually border each other, Gujarat and Pakistan. So it'll be really
We're
exciting.
neighbors.
I think it speaks to Canada.
Go ahead.
It speaks to Canada that we can have two festivals that are so similar yet so diverse come together in a city like Vancouver.
That'll be fantastic. And there'll be more Ras Garba during Navratri and Diwali in the fall.
Of course. So that's in October, so that's yet to come, October 1st.
Great. Well, thank you both for being here, and we look forward to these wonderful festivals. Pakistan Festival, August 14th, Jackpot Plaza.
That's correct.
And starting August 30th, variety of venues, including the PNE.
That's right. We kick off August 30th. All of our events are online on our website at GujaratiCulturalFestival.com.
Great. Thank you for both being here. This is IMTIAZ POPAT saying thank you for being with Access Community Television.
I stand in solidarity with the Splatsin elders who are working and protecting to save the ancestral burial grounds. Violation of ancestors is never acceptable. It is our duty, it is our job, it is our privilege to protect the ancestors, especially in their sacred spaces where they rest.
I mean, it's so obvious to me what the right thing to do is here. It's just so complicated because we're so colonial. The right thing to do here is to buy the land from the farmer, give it back to the Splatsin people, and pay the Splatsin people for the loss of the land over 150 years. I mean, it's got three components to doing the right thing here. The right thing here is to buy the land, give it back, and to pay reparations for having them lost the land over the period. I mean, the answer here is it's not hard in figuring out what should be done. The hard part is doing it. And if you wanted to write to the minister and make that as a suggestion, I'll be writing to her myself.
Hey, GUNARGIE, you heard another 10 cities popped up here on Hastings Street?
No, I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me one bit because over and over we failed to tackle the housing issues for low-income people. And it has pushed us to the limits to the point where Lucas Meyer has gone off to Portland to check out the R2D2 in Portland. And so let's see how they tackle the issues of homelessness and providing alternatives for low-income people. Check it out.
Make me a pallet on your floor. Make me a pallet on your floor. Make it soft, make it low, so my good gal won't know. Make me a pallet on your floor.
In 4 years, going on 5 years, this October will be 5 years, 295 people have found housing, 285 have found work. We have 17 women keep their babies, 35 people stop using drugs, and about 26 are doing online education, whether they get in a high school or college degree. And last year we had 2 people to graduate from college. And that's all because they can get sleep and it builds a community where people can help one another. Everybody must read our code of conduct so they understand about the conduct behavior and the mannerism that we expect the people to be here. This is our security area. They log people in and log people out like Mike just did. And we have a bulletin board on what's going on out there. We have resource books. And this is our lockbox where people do in-kind donations, or when they buy stuff, it goes in here and only the treasurer has the key. I'm not the treasurer. We have our souvenir shop right here.
Those are the shirts?
Yeah, these are the shirts that we sell right here. We came up with our own design and logos and stuff. And the same thing with the buttons that we sell right here. We make our own buttons and stuff. And so everything we do, we try to make them ourselves because we get no funding from the government. Okay, and this is like medical, when people need medical pills or hair for hair and stuff, or clothes, we just grab them and give them to them. We do have food here, and when we can get it, the people wake up, they hungry, or before they go to bed, they hungry. They may be running around and may not be able to go. This is our board of events. Everything on the green board is what we're doing, what we have for the week, and anybody can come and say, hey, what is Right to Dream to Right to Survive doing this week? And we can say, we're here, oh, I want to go there. Okay, this here is generally our common area, and it's being cleaned up right now. This is where people come sit and talk. This here is where all the single men sleep. And as you can see, we have numbers. We go up to 39 men. Men is usually filled up day in and day out. But we only allow for 12 hours in the summertime and 8 hours in the wintertime because more people want to come and get sleep. So we have 3 increments and we open 24 hours. Another reason we open 24 hours, some houses people do work, but they work at night. And when they get off of work, there's no shelters or missions open. This here is where the women sleep, but right now we don't have none. This here is one of our biggest expense on keeping the sleeping bags clean. We try to wash them like 2 to 3 times a week, and we utilize them twice. When they come from the laundry, we let somebody sleep in, and then when they get up, we spray them down with tea tree oil, water and vinegar, and Lysol because we don't know where they're coming from. Right over here while I talk. This is our kitchen. When we first came here, we had open flames in the city, always try to discourage us, and they said no open flame, so everything is electric. And we also have a community refrigerator.
So the kitchen is open, anybody can come in?
No, the kitchen is just utilized for the membership. It's up to the people who's on security or a member if they want to warm food up for somebody that's coming off the street. Usually they cook a big pot of food and have it for the people there, but sometimes people come with individual stuff that say, hey, can you warm this up? I'm hungry and I don't eat cold food. So most likely, since we all been there before, we'll warm that stuff up. This up some. This is our donation area right here. When we get donations, we bring it back here and we do like in-kind service or sweat equity where people come in and help us fold them up and stuff, and we let them get what they want or whatever they ask for. Where you're entering now is the membership area. Here, this is where they stay. Okay, they have their own personal place here where you got couples in tents, single people in tents, people with their pets, and we cater to the whole houseless community. This is Kaike's tent.
Your tent?
Well, when he's here, I share my tent with him, and you can peek in there and see how They're either looking for work, housing, or going to school, or they want to learn how to be activists, and that's where the organization R2S, Right to Survive, come in and educate them on their constitutional, human and civil rights, and we do a lot of direct actions. We do a lot of fundraisers. We teach them how to write grants. This right here we call an empowerment center. Empowerment center means people come to empower themselves after being de-empowered by the system of living in the streets and being told what they have to do. Here they come here and figure out what they know how to do. So we have all these computers right here where people can come use up to 2 hours, and if nobody is signed on after them, they can stay on. The 3 qualifications: you're looking for housing, you're doing online education, you're looking for work, you're checking your own personal email, and you're reaching out to loved ones to say, hey, I'm in a better place, come see me. I don't want to come see you yet because I know I did some things. And then once you come see me, we can talk about connecting those dots again. We have bikes because the price of getting on the bus is like $5 round trip. Maybe houses first don't have that money, so we get bikes donated, or we find old parts and fix them, and we lend them out. They say, I got to go to my doctor's appointment, and we say, okay, you sign this bike out, you bring it back. If not, you can't utilize our service. This was raised garden bed where we had sweet peas growing up, and it grew all over here like a vine. And so we're going to start replanting that again, and we let people come off the street and try them and eat them. Right here is our recycling thing, where we teach them how to compost and recycle. So was just walking in here, and so we needed a perimeter. People wanted to put bushes, they wanted to put barbed wire fences. I said, no, put doors, because doors always closing in the face of the homeless people. So this is like one door closes, another one open, or doors of opportunity. And we're looking for something to generate money, because we get no money from the government. This is all us doing. And so we looked at a fundraiser and said, you can come advertise on our door for $100 a year. You can put anything you want, long as it's not lewd, and it had to do something with homelessness. And that's why you see the different types of doors. It costs the city nothing, because they don't pay us. We pay for our own liability insurance, we pay for our own water bill, our own electric, our own porta potties getting dumped, our own recycling, and our own dumpsters. It costs the city nothing.
Make me a pallet on your floor.
Well, that's it for this episode of Access Television, IMTIAZ. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait till Molly gets back. I'm glad that Dougal is back. But in the meantime, we're going to wrap this little show up with Professor Louis, who is a spoken word artist from San Francisco. Here's his thought-provoking piece, and it's called... It is called A Story About Whiteness and Racism.
Very timely with what's happening with Black Lives Matter right now.
It totally is. When you think of what has been happening and how people have been combating racism, do we really want to go in that direction? With the missing and murdered women, the high rate of incarceration and police brutality, what next? How will we continue to respond?
Thank you for joining myself, MTS POPAT, and GUNARGIE Sullivan with the Access TV crew.
It's anybody's guess, but more or less, this is a story about whiteness. And my skin, you know, it's white as snow. I take it with me everywhere I go, and what I got is not a passing phase. I'm white 24 hours a day, and everywhere I go, I hope I show. I already know it don't make me high, it don't make me low, but if you try, you can't deny what you see with your sight. You get a softer life if your skin is white. Your neighborhood's slicker, get a bank loan quicker. They sell better liquor, the school bus comes, the subway runs, the work gets done, the potholes fixed, the criminals licked, the IRS tricked, the garbage picked up, the library fixed up, the street light kept up, the playground swept up. We get